Okay, we are live, but we'll let it breathe just for a second here to bring on Facebook. Hang tight, guys. Sorry I couldn't make it yesterday. I had forgotten about a family Thanksgiving celebration. Everybody in my family is all old enough that they kind of want to do their own thing on Thanksgiving with their own family and kids and stuff like that. So the greater family has decided the best thing is do it on a Sunday before. And I had forgotten about that. So welcome in, everybody. It's the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman, fresh off a day of holding it down by himself. And Zack, thanks for doing that, dude. How was it?
It was good as always. I have no problem holding it down. Obviously, I like to pod with my partner in crime for the last 10 years, but it was exciting to talk with Broncos fans again and kind of get their temperature coming off the bye week and into a big Sunday night matchup against the Commanders.
You guys will have to let us know how you're feeling because we finally got to hear from the Broncos today. We got to hear from Peyton, a little bit of locker room stuff. We got to hear from Will Lutz, freshly and newly paid. And Zack, what's the last thing before we get into some of tonight's topics? The last I heard is that the Commanders were really hoping and expecting to get Jaden Daniels back this week. Are the signs still pointing in that direction?
Last I checked, he was a long shot to play on Sunday, according to Adam Schefter. He's going to be practicing this week. That's a positive for him and the Commanders, but he's not going to play on Sunday. It'll be Marcus Mariota under center.
If that's the case, man, it's going to be a long night for Marcus Mariota. That is for sure. We got Papa Bear checking in on Super Chat. What's going on, big
Thank you,
dog?
David.
It's great to see you. He says, "Good evening, Broncos country. 13-4 plus 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 plus. God bless the USA. God bless Papa Bear and his consistent support of MHH member superstar. Thank you, brother. Really appreciate you." We also have Colin Dunham checking in.
Thank you,
Great to see
Colin.
Cullen in the house with his PRS guitar, rocking it. Again, is it a what do they call those? The Vela or is it what is it? Mira, Vela? Anyway, sick guitar, dude. Thank you for the support as always. So I know I've been talking about how important I feel it is to keep BJ come this off season. Cullen says, but I forgot about Davis Webb, who might also be getting head coach interviews. Who's more important to retain? That's a very good question there, Zack. What do you think? Push comes to shove. Is it keeping the brainchild of this tip of the spear defense intact or Bo Nix's kind of security blanket?
Well, it's a good question, Cullen, but I feel like it's an easy question to answer. Do we keep the brainchild of the defense, or do we keep one cog of the offensive operation? Not even the primary cog. That's Sean Payton. It's his baby. Everything goes through him. Davis Webb has been instrumental in developing Bo Nix, but so is Payton, so is Joe Lombardi. The bulk of the defensive credit has to go to VJ. So, if I had to choose one, I'm keeping Vance Joseph.
Indeed. If push comes to shove, it would be Joseph. But it's going to be a heck of a lot easier, in all likelihood, Zack, to keep Davis Webb because I think his next opportunity isn't as a head coach. I mean, it could be. It depends on how far this team goes, in all honesty. But I kind of think the next most logical spot for him is offensive coordinator somewhere. And if you're Sean Payton, well, let's say if you're a coach under Sean Payton offensively and you're trying to take those upward mobility steps, you might get the nominal offensive coordinator title, Zack, in Denver, but you're never going to be the guy who calls the plays if Sean Payton's your boss. So he might just want eventually at some point to kind of spread his wings and ply his wares elsewhere. But he has been linked. Now, he's linked only in the sense of, hot up and coming potential young coaches under the age of 44. I want to say, was it Tom Pelissero that had the list about a week ago? But it's a situation to monitor.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can justify jettisoning the offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi to justify retaining Davis Webb. I feel like you're in a position maybe where the Lions were last offseason. Both their coordinators got rated. They lost both to head coaching jobs. At some point, just like with players, you can't keep them all, and you have to let, like you said, others spread their wings and fly. So it's a good position for the Broncos to be in. Ultimately, Cullen, it means that other teams want what the Broncos have on their coaching staff.
Thank you. Really good, thought-provoking question, my friend. Sam Bam also checking in, a dear member. A dear member and a longtime Mount Rushmore superstar. Sam says, evening, guys. Looking forward to the game this Sunday night, by the way. I feel the Broncos will have an authoritative win over the Commanders, even if Daniels plays. Hope you guys and everyone else has a happy Thanksgiving. Go Broncos, 13-4. Thank you, bro. You too, and anybody who's maybe traveling this week, safe travels. But I don't know. This kind of stretches back to last year too. Most of you can remember, even amidst his phenomenal rookie year, there was just something about him, Jaden Daniels, that is, that I didn't fully buy into, whether it was as a prospect going number 2 overall or his body of work. Now I'm free and open to the possibility, Zach, that it was maybe a little bit of quarterback envy because he was taken away and eclipsing Bo Nix's phenomenal rookie season that, he probably would have gotten even more recognition. But honestly, I think it's his size. He's a relatively diminutive, thin, frail guy. And for someone who runs around as often as Jaden Daniels does, I always worried that it was going to lead to stuff like the Commanders have dealt with this season, which has almost single-handedly torpedoed their playoff outlook.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You and I both had apprehensions, as a lot of other people did, about the durability concerns of Jaden Daniels, whether he'd be RG3'd in Washington, and that's exactly what happened. And it's unfortunate because it's good for the NFL to have exciting young quarterbacks. But if you've followed Washington this season, the bigger fall off has been their defense under Dan Quinn. That's supposed to be a specialty, and they are a sieve both through the air and on the ground. So, Sam, I always, nowadays, compared to a couple weeks ago, I fall short of expecting a Broncos blowout or hoping for one. But you're right. It should be an authoritative win. We'll see if it is on Sunday night.
It is great to see you, Sam. Thank you for being awesome. And guys, listen up real quick. Football, it's in full swing. Underdog, the best place to get in on all the action. Are you ready to get off the bench and into the game? Well, then head on over to Underdog. Download the app, whether it's basketball, football, hockey, any sport in between, frankly. Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action, and that's all season long. And it's that time again. Feast Week is back on Underdog from November 26th through November 30th. Check the app daily for special promos.
That's right. Playing an Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. Get your picks right, and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash.
It's so much fun, guys. Join us in that fun of watching football and playing Underdog, winning money. It's a touchdown, baby. Download the Underdog app today. Sign up with our promo code MHuddle to score $100 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code MHuddle. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next?
Be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
All right, Zach, real quick before we go back to the chat. So over the weekend, the show's had a lot of talk about Damien Pierce, the running back that the Texans kind of surprisingly, to make room for a cornerback on their 53-man roster, released last week. Well, technically waived him because he had to go through the wire, but he went unclaimed. Broncos had a chance to just go, yeah, he's ours now, but they didn't claim him. And per reports, Zach, he of course signed with the Chiefs, but he chose the Chiefs over offers from the Broncos amongst other teams. What do you make of that?
It's a little surprising to me. Ronk actually broke the news on the pod last night when I was holding it down solo. I had no idea, Chad, that he decided to go to Kansas City and join their practice squad, and he bypassed offers from the Broncos, from the Chargers, the Eagles, the Dolphins. You're talking about most playoff contending teams. But to go to a team where they already have 3 power backs in place already versus a team like Denver, 9-2, by the way, number 1 or number 2 now in the AFC, that's dying for a power back after losing J.K. Dobbins. The path to playing time would have been there for Damien Pierce, but I guess the allure of Patrick Mahomes was too much for him.
No doubt. And look, the Broncos had a chance to make it not even a question. If you claim them, the only caveat is you can't put them on your practice squad. You got to put them on the 53. So who are the last couple of guys that make up the 53? We're talking Lil Jordan Humphrey, maybe Garrett Wallow, the linebacker. Who else? Maybe Frank Crum, who blocked an extra point. Those 3 guys, Zach, were more important to the Broncos than trying to bring in Damien Pierce. But my guess is Broncos wanted him on the practice squad as well. And so he's going like this, which one? Kind of interesting that he chose the Chiefs of all those, as you mentioned, relative playoff contenders that were interested in him. But that's how the cookie crumbled. So be it.
Yeah, I mean, unlike Week 11, the Chiefs actually beat the Broncos to something for once. So more power to them. We'll see them on Christmas night, when the Chiefs host the Broncos in the second game of their season series. So we'll see what Pierce has in store for Kansas City.
String guy, Raj, I'm glad to hear you're out of the hospital finally as of yesterday. He says, I'm ready to talk Broncos getting the 1 seed. Also heard we're getting PS2 back for the Washington game. Well, that's what the signs are pointing to, my brother. Although I loved Sean Payton's response today in the conference call. Hey, Coach, Alex Singleton, Surtain, will they return to practice this week? Quote, I would never get into that on a Monday. I appreciate the question, though. Follow up. Are you pleased with Singleton and Surtain's progress, at least? Yeah, I wouldn't get into anything injury related, but I appreciate the question. And by the way, when he says I appreciate the question, what he's saying is I'm recognizing that Mr. Journalist reporter, I'm recognizing that that I hate that and will not answer injury questions. And I'm logging the fact that you're asking me, A, out of, in the first place, and then B, with a follow-up trying to wiggle out some additional information. I'm keeping that in mind because the next time I snap at a reporter at a podium, it might just be you.
It's a very polite way of saying F you to the reporter. And he said it twice. But, like you said, Chad, if you're a reporter, you have to know you're not going to get anything out of Sean Payton injury related. Anything you can get is a bonus in itself. Although the recent reporting did indicate that PS2 would likely be back. Singleton is a little more iffy considering what he's going through. But PS2 really could play Sunday night. And I would expect for that to happen.
Phil, if the Broncos lose Webb and VJ to head coaching jobs, the only picks the Broncos would get would be for VJ.
Yep.
2 third-round picks. So you would get nothing. So if VJ stayed and Webb went somewhere as a head coach, you'd get nothing. That's just to incentivize NFL teams to continue interviewing and hiring minority head coach candidates.
Absolutely correct. 2 third-round picks in consecutive years if the Broncos would lose VJ. So it's kind of a win-win.
It's not nothing, that's for sure. George Fox, I don't think CJ will stay around. VJ, I think he's saying, will stay around. He'll take an offer if it comes, and we can't blame him as much as we'd love to keep him. Broncos for life, MHH for life. Hit the thumbs up. And yes, guys, yesterday I was going through doing my, what would you call it? Comment curation on YouTube, making sure people aren't saying too much crazy stuff, deleting swear word comments and responding. And I just happened to see that the last few podcasts the likes aren't there. The views are there, but people aren't liking the podcast. Like, I don't know. I'm not trying to complain because we love and appreciate you guys, but it just takes a second. Just like it for the algorithm. All right. For the algorithm. So anyway, thank you for that reminder, George. Really means a lot. I want to give some shouts here to Glenn down in Oz on Facebook saying good morning. Because remember, he's in the future. Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott, Broncos country. How does Pierce select the Chiefs over us? Enjoy mediocrity. Cannot wait to bash you on Christmas Day. Sackmas Day for Mahomes. Bye-bye playoffs, KC. Happy Thanksgiving to all who celebrate this week. It's also my birthday tomorrow. You're 27th? Sick, dude. Well, happy early birthday. That's awesome. That's awesome. But Zach, I don't know. We kind of stabbed at it earlier why he may have chosen Pierce, the Chiefs, over, say, the Broncos. But I did watch the entirety, Zach, of the Chiefs Colts game, and it was looking good. It was looking like Colts. In fact, I texted, a lot of you will recognize the name Drake Wally, who chimes in once in a while with the super chat. He covers the Colts for our sister site, Colts on SI. And I texted him at like, Zach, top of the third or halfway through the third, and the Colts had an 11-point lead. I was like, Colts are winning this. Then I ended up jinxing it because the Chiefs battled back and won. So desperate times, desperate measures. Like the Chiefs, give them their credit, Zach. They hung in there, fought hard, finally won one of these one-score games.
I can't get over that part of the comment where he's like, enjoy mediocrity, you maggot. That's really, Glenn, I got a kick out of that. Happy early birthday to you, brother. Thank you for making me laugh. And it's true. I don't see the Chiefs really making much noise this season, despite overcoming the Colts at home yesterday. They're going to be what they are, Chad, and that's a middling team. The dynasty is over, and the AFC West is the Broncos for the taking once again.
No doubt. Yeah. Hey, Todd Ostendorf. Good to see you, pal. Shouting out to the members that are with us tonight. Pearl, good to see Pearl. We've got it is a Vela. I got to remember that. Vela. Okay. Or Vela. I say Vela. I don't know. But String Guy, this was brought up today, Zach. So this is a good question because it kind of dovetails with the whole reason why the Broncos were interested in Pierce to begin with, and that is that J.K. Dobbins is now on season-ending injured reserve with that foot. And RJ Harvey, in his first bite at the apple as RB1, Sean Payton made some excuses for him today, so to speak. Like, not excuses, but trying to kind of maybe make his first start. Wasn't technically his first start, but his first time as the guy look perhaps a little bit better than it really was, but it just wasn't good, guys. Like, it's not going to cut the mustard for the Broncos moving forward. So String Guy says, should we stay with Harvey in a traditional run game, even if it's not working? I want to see a breakout game from Harvey before I commit to him as a running back for the rest of the season. Well, so do the Broncos. And Zach, the thing that, of course, sticks out, we've talked a lot about this over the last few weeks, but he's got whatever, 220 something yards, 30 yards rushing. But when you minus those two runs, one was for 50 in the season opener against Tennessee, the second one against Dallas for 40 that went for a touchdown. If you minus those 90 yards, his average is well below 3 yards, and that's not good. So if you're Sean Payton, what I'm thinking is you got to try and work in some of the stuff that is more in his wheelhouse. That's not to say that you don't continue with the inside zone and trying to hammer power stuff between the tackles, but work in a stretch play, let him try and get to the corner, work in a toss, stuff like that, doing it, of course, with tact and strategy and the right moments and whatnot. But it's a concern, and only Harvey can solve it, Zach, and make it not a concern.
I agree with what you said. The second point I want to make is that the Chiefs have a pretty stout defensive front. I'll panic a little more if they only total 59 ground yards against the Commanders, who rank in the bottom fifth, the 25th and 27th, I think, respectively, in rushing yards allowed per game and rushing yards allowed per carry. So regardless of traditional or not, if the Broncos can't find running room on Sunday, then we might be panicking. But we also have to kind of justify to ourselves, what is a breakout game for RJ Harvey? He was not meant to be a J.K. Dobbins, especially in year one. He was not meant to be the workhorse. He's just not that type of running back. He's the cherry on top of the Sunday, the lightning to the thunder. They lost the thunder, so they're having to kind of scheme around that now. So point being, if he can average, plus 4 yards a carry or so, but move the ball, like Chad was saying, with tosses, screens, if they can get those working again, just something to use Harvey's athleticism and also his pass catching chops. That's how you overcome, I think, the loss of JK. But we also, again, we have to keep our expectations more in line. That was losing Dobbins, Chad, was a huge blow. You're talking about the NFL's fifth leading rusher at the time of his injury.
Man, even if RJ could average 3.5 yards per carry, believe it or not, it's a far cry from like 2.5, 2.6, 2.7. And, hey, here's a good way to look at it. Like, would you rather have 2nd and 8 or 2nd and 6? etc. It actually makes a big difference in terms of what you call on second down, the kind of risks you're willing to take on second down, etc. And the Broncos just need it. Now, Zach, you had a story today about Jaleel McLaughlin and what Sean Payton had to say about him, but it's pretty clear that, and I don't blame him, of the two backs against the Chiefs, he was obviously, I think, a bit more pleased with what McLaughlin was able to produce, and not just because it was his first real involvement in the offense this season. I mean, it was his second game dressed, but he touched it 6 times as a ball carrier, had a touchdown, was just a little bit more productive, as now I got to be the change of pace guy behind an RJ Harvey. But I expect to see moving forward, like closer to 50-50, like maybe 60-40 Harvey, something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're pretty spot on with that. McLaughlin only averaged 3.2 yards per carry against the Chiefs, but that was the team high for the Broncos, just to show you how bad it was against that KC defensive front. Like Chad said, he had 6 carries, 19 yards. He had that 4-yard touchdown, but we also forget, because he got buried by Dobbins and Harvey, that if there was one running back that Peyton trusted in 2024, it was Jaleel McLaughlin. And that's why we were all wondering and confused why he went in the doghouse and wasn't dressing for any game. So I think for sure he has passed Tyler Bidet as the RB2. And like you said, now it's going to be more of a split, an even carry in the backfield, a committee approach, because like Peyton said, I think with the flow of a normal game, he's going to be important for us in this stretch. That's a quote from Peyton, so that speaks for itself.
Guys, lots more to get to. We're not even halfway through tonight's conversation, but really quick, guys, before we continue further, listen, Thanksgiving's this week. Christmas is going to come soon after. Holidays, it's all about finding the perfect gift, but this time of year, not every deal is actually what it seems, because scammers are getting more creative and tricking people into sharing their payment info through methods like fake shopping sites, giveaways, etc. Stuff that's just frankly too good to be true. Luckily, Cash App's 24/7 fraud monitoring helps detect and alert you for unusual card activity should someone gain access to your card, so that you can act fast if something seems off. You can also unlock or lock your Cash App card instantly right in the app for extra control and peace of mind. This is how you stay one step ahead of the scams this season. Keep your money secure with Cash App.
For a limited time only, new Cash App customers can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real, just download Cash App, use our exclusive referral code SECURE10 in your profile, send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures.
All right, guys, back to the chat here. Big Earns, good to see you on Facebook. My brother. He's saying, go Broncos 10-2, Bo Leave and Bo Nix. Amen to that. David Youngkin, KC has Cowboys on Thanksgiving. They're one loss, and then they play the Texans. There's one loss, and then they play the Texans. There's another loss. I don't know, man. I have a hard time seeing the Cowboys beating the Chiefs, but we'll see. The Texans, though, as we've seen ourselves, are no joke. Like, the farther, Zach, we get from that game, the more it's like impressive that the Broncos were able to prevail in Houston, let alone the fact it was in Houston, but that defense, OMG. And now the Texans face that big decision. Do we keep the ball rolling with what this momentum we have with Davis Mills, or do we put CJ Stroud back in? And, that's already been decided.
Number one, I'm really not too worried about the Chiefs. They're irrelevant. We need not to be scared of them. The Broncos beat them. The Broncos are the 2nd seed, and the Chiefs are the 9th seed right now. So that's number one. Number two, just like with the Patriots and the Tom Brady era, I've learned my lesson of counting the Chiefs out of any game or assuming any losses. I wouldn't make any declarations about the Chiefs season, except the fact that the Broncos are firmly ahead and we need to not fear them anymore. I think we slayed the beast finally.
For what it's worth, real quick, I just mentioned that it's been decided. Technically, the Texans have not decided it publicly in terms of like, hey, CJ is still, as of today, in concussion protocol. This is, of course, D'Amico Ryans. But he did say whenever CJ's back ready to roll, he's been our starter. He will be our starter when he's back ready to roll. So we'll see. Drew Hudick in the house. Good to see you, big dog. Hope you've been well. We need you as a member, bro. Become a member. He says, please look back at the games that Harvey had 4 or 5 carries. Most of those were poorly blocked. Give him a larger load to get some holes and show his HR ability. Home run. We don't need a broken down veteran. Well, that's the thing is, you know, the games that these final 6 games, each one of them is going to be precious relative to playoff seeding. And Sean Payton, you know, they're very focused now with how hard they've worked to get to 9-2. They're very focused on now capitalizing on playoff seeding. And so it's kind of catch-22 a little bit because you need the production, and it would be easy to just plug in a guy who's already got some NFL experience and resume and production in that can just pound the rock and pick you up 4 or 5 yards per carry. But at the same time, Zach, if you do that and you stick to the 4 or 5 carry approach with Harvey, is he ever going to fully develop his NFL vision? Is he ever going to take those steps forward to becoming the kind of running back that the Broncos can rely on? Because as great as J.K. Dobbins is, and there's still a possibility, by the way, that he has a future in Denver beyond 2025, you know, it's the injury thing, obviously, for Dobbins. And if you can stay healthy, which RJ's been able to do up to this point in his football career, that's a big pro. That's a big plus for any running back. So that's where I falls. It's like, hey, do you bring in a guy in a perfect world, Zach? I would have preferred that they brought in Pierce just to have that option. But it wouldn't mean per se that the Broncos just plug him in and he's the guy now. You would have worked him in. You would have gone a couple of practice squad elevations, but Harvey would still remain the guy. It's just to what degree he's the guy. You know, is he carrying it 15 times a game like JK was? Or is he doing the, you know, like he's talking about 4 to 5, or is it somewhere around 10? I think moving forward, though, RJ's carry floor is 10 per game.
There were plenty of times dating even back to the preseason where RJ Harvey just missed the hole, and he's a rookie running back. We all exonerated him. We all understood it, but it wasn't solely on the blocking of the offensive line. But that comes with experience, and I think RJ Harvey is a better player now than he was in August. The only thing I can really add to what you said, Chad, is if you give him more carries, you're exposing another running back to injury. And that's okay when you have 2, number ones, de facto number ones. Now you're down to number one, and he's a tenuous number 1 at that. So you would give him more carries to a guy that was supposed to be the complement, not the primary, and you're opening yourself up to another quandary. And there's no more Damien Pierces out there. He really would have been a nice pickup. He's not just a power back. He has speed. Him and RJ Harvey would have been fun.
I think they would have made a good combo, no doubt about it. Colin jumping in again. Thank you, bro. Saying, what's Audric Estime up to? Haha. Well, funnily enough, he had spent the majority of the season on the Saints. Well, not the majority of the season, but he spent basically since October. He was on the Saints practice squad. And then right before Dobbins got hurt, he was promoted to their active roster, which puts him out of reach. So if he was still on the practice squad, the Broncos could sign him, provided they were willing to sign him to the 53. But that's the latest on Audric Estime, who is still yet, as far as I know, to carry the ball this season, touch the ball.
Personally, I would rather see Deuce Vaughn, the practice squad running back, former Cowboys running back, before I would bring back Estime. We know what Estime is. We don't know what Deuce Vaughn is necessarily.
We know that he's like 175 pounds soaking wet, Deuce Vaughn. You know what I mean? Like he's a little dude that I'm not sure. Yeah, it's zero carries. Thank you. I'm not sure exactly how impactful he could be other than like gadget guy, but I'd be interested to see it. Phil, really nice to see Pat Bryant nominated for Rookie of the Week. Kid has promise. Yes, he does. Really interesting. His, what is it? 15. Let me remind myself real quick. I want to say 15 catches this season. Double check that. Yes. He's got 15 receptions, Zach. All but one of them have gone for a first down or a touchdown.
Yeah, I see Mile High Dutchy saying Vaughn's not a power back. That was more of a slighted Estime who averaged less
Yeah,
than 3 yards a carry in the
exactly.
preseason. He is, even if he's a power back, he wasn't very effective. So I don't know what the Broncos are going to do there. That's why I really wanted Damien Pierce. He would have been a tremendous compliment with RJ Harvey.
And by the way, we mentioned estimate 0 carries 2025. That's Broncos leavings, so to speak. Devon Vele in that trade, remember? Oh, we need our big possession receiver. 9 catches for 91 yards. Thank you, Mr. Producer. But yeah, guys, what Zach was trying to communicate was just no estimate. Not that Vaughn's a power back, but just we kind of been there, done that with Audric Estime. And he also kind of started to show, I don't want to make too much of this, but a little bit of attitude toward the end. Like, I think he was really, really surprised, frankly, and disappointed to go from RB1 to waived in the matter of about 2 months. So he developed himself a little attitude. I think that helped hasten his path out the door.
Sucks to suck. Be better.
No doubt about that. Okay, Zach, also interesting today, Sean Payton was asked the ubiquitous question about Troy Franklin taking the next step, etc. But I did think that his answer in this particular instance was interesting because he said, quote, on Troy Franklin, I think he's explosive out of his break. He's not afraid to compete at all. He's real good at the line of scrimmage with his releases. I think there's a confidence that Bo has with him. It's a little bit of what we saw from Marvin Mims, meaning last year. I'm happy with that room. Those guys are all competing and working hard and going against some real good defenses. So I mentioned, Zach, that Pat Bryant has 15 receptions, 231 yards, by the way, and a touchdown. Troy Franklin is second on the team in yardage, but he has 46 receptions, 509 yards, and a team high 5 touchdowns this season.
I think there's a legitimate case to be made that Troy Franklin has surpassed Cortland Sutton as the number 1 Broncos receiver, if only from how much attention he gets from Bo Nix, the passes thrown his way, if only from the confidence that Sean Payton has in Troy Franklin. Remember, Payton inherited Cortland Sutton. He handpicked Troy Franklin. He talked up this ascension, and you were harping on that all offseason, Chad, this microwaved ascension, this breakout campaign for Troy Franklin. Come hell or high water, Sean Payton was going to make that happen. And to an extent, it's worked. There's a lot that Troy Franklin has improved on from his rookie season, but there's a lot that he hasn't yet. And he's not Mr. Reliable. He drops too many passes. He's a little sloppy at times, in and out of breaks, despite what Sean Payton says. But in those comments there, and like we talked about with the breakout, he mentioned Marvin Mims. He was saying the same things about Marvin Mims last year. So if there's always a golden pony, I think, in the Broncos receiving room. Last year it was Mims. This year it's Troy Franklin.
You're not wrong about taking over as wide receiver 1, maybe not in everybody's hearts and maybe not even in Bo or Peyton's heart, to be frank, but in terms of how the cookie is crumbled, he has 81 targets this season, Zach, does Troy Franklin, to Cortland Sutton's 74. Both have been active in all 11 games. Sutton has started all 11. Franklin started 6 of them, but here's where you start getting into a pretty serious discrepancy. Is Cortland Sutton's catch percentage is basically 61%, and Franklin's is 57%. And you go, that's only a 4% difference. But in all honesty, it really illustrates the drops. And that's been the big problem for Troy. Even in that game against the Chiefs, in which he ended up being one of the heroes, he could have very just as easily been one of the GOATs because he did drop 2 passes in that game. And over the weekend, Zach, I was doing some stuff around the house. I was catching up on a few podcasts because it was the bye that had a few different players. And even though Riley and John Elway did a podcast, so I listened to that. But even though this happened before the Chiefs game, one of the podcasts I caught up on was Riley Moss appearing on the Richard Sherman podcast, which if you guys haven't caught that, it's very interesting. Highly recommend. There's a lot of good stuff in there. But the reason I'm bringing it up now is Sherman tells a story about how, back in his when he was with the Niners, so the tail end of his career, he was the Broncos and Niners were doing a joint practice session, right? And Sherman says, I'll paraphrase him. He's like, look, I'd never in my life been mossed, ever. Not in high school, not in college, not in the NFL. No one had ever mossed me. So I'm going against Cortland Sutton in a one-on-one rep in practice. And the ball goes up. I'm running. I'm like, oh, baby, this one's mine. I sky up. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is going to be a sweet pick in practice. And he says, all of a sudden, instead of continuing to go up, I feel this pressure on my shoulders and I start going down. And then above me by like, I don't know, an arm's length, I see these two massive mitts just sky above me into my vision and pluck the ball out of the air. And I was like, that was Cortland Sutton. He's like, I never had seen that before in my life. That dude's. And so anyway, Cortland Sutton, he's on pace. He could still, Zach, get to 1,000-yard season, which would be the third of his career and the second back-to-back. But Bo Nix is going to have to start looking his way a little bit more often. A lot of that, though, last thing that I'm serving it back to you, has been dictated by coverage. The opponents do like to double-team Cortland Sutton.
That's the problem with Sutton, though, historically, is that he'll make those ridiculous contested catches, the catches that you think have no chance. Look at the Bills touchdown with Russell Wilson in 2023. But then he'll drop the easy ones, Chad, the no-brainers, the layups. And did you mention 61% catch percentage for Cortland Sutton?
Yeah.
Versus 57 for Troy Franklin. Well, Cortland Sutton makes a lot more money than Troy Franklin. They're putting a lot more expectations on Cortland Sutton. For 2 years, Sutton wanted to be paid and treated like a number one receiver in the vein of a CD Lamb or a JJ or a Jamar Chase. I'm pretty sure those other receivers have a higher catch percentage. He shouldn't be that close to Troy Franklin. Not to exonerate Franklin, they both have to be better, but that's, I think, part of the reason why you're seeing the shift. If you can't trust both, at least throw to the guy who's more explosive, and more explosive right now is Troy Franklin.
All right, real quick to shift gears here. This was another interesting newsworthy story that came out of Sean Payton's comments this morning. Phil says Payton said he and George have reached out to some players regarding their contracts. Any ideas on which players that might be?
Yes.
So obviously they reached out to Will Lutz was among that list, and they were able to pretty quickly get a deal done. But Sean Payton explained today, well, I'll just read what he said. He said, let's see, George and I, we spent time, George and I, before the break and discussed a number of players that we're going to visit with. The key is not affecting the mojo or how your team's doing. I'm always sensitive to that, especially when you're playing well, because sometimes those can be difficult discussions. Then he goes on to say there are a few other players that we know we've reached out to, and I think the key is the communication aspect of all of it. So to me, Zach, and as I wrote about this, I floated a few names, but the most obvious ones are John Franklin Myers on defense, Malcolm Roach on defense, although JFM takes precedence, and then one of the two linebackers, if not both, at least checking with them, seeing what they're thinking money-wise, Alex Singleton, Justin Sternad, with the erring on the side of the youth in Sternad. But don't forget Luke Wattenberg. Wouldn't shock me if they extended him in season, but no news yet.
According to Mike Kliss, they had preliminary talks with Malcolm Roach and Luke Wattenberg. That's the answer.
Yeah. See, hey, but that surprises me. Why aren't we hearing JFM? Because I don't know. Is he not one of the guys? I would assume he is. Or is he one of the guys perhaps that, like Sean Payton said, sometimes when you start talking money with guys, those conversations can be difficult, and you worry as a team about kind of upsetting the apple cart and the energy and the juju and all that stuff in the locker room, of which right now, Zach, the Broncos have a really strong, tight-knit energy going.
They also drafted Savion Jones, and at some point, these younger guys have to play. I think it was JFM who recently told Jones, go take my job. I think JFM sees the writing on the wall, and he's trying to maximize his free agent cash out in 2026.
All right. So there you have it. Interesting stuff. We'll see. I mean, the other name that fans ask about is J.K. Dobbins, but if he hadn't have gotten hurt, he's probably one of the guys that they would have at least started exploring things with, but he got hurt. And that doesn't mean he won't still or can't still be extended, but you got to wait basically till he's healthy. So it's a conversation, Zach, that happens, hey, if you make the Super Bowl and he's able to play, great. But like it probably happens sometime between mid-February and March, depending on how quickly he recovers and all that. What do you think happens with regard to JK? Because it really seemed like, I mean, he fit in really well. Not only did he produce on the field and so thus fitting into the scheme and being the guy that the Broncos were hoping he would be, but he exceeded that. He's one of those guys Sean Payton would talk about. He'd use his DeMario Davis anecdote saying, sometimes you sign a guy thinking you're with the expectation you're getting X, and then you end up getting so much more. You get like team captain style stuff that you weren't anticipating. And Broncos got that in J.K. Dobbins. And when he was asked about it, whatever it was, maybe 2 weeks before he got hurt, he clearly said, I love Denver. I want to play my career in Denver, which makes it all the more heartbreaking the way it shook out for him.
I think they're going to treat it like they treated Javonte Williams. They'll check in and make an offer, probably a lowball offer, considering Dobbins' injury history. And if he finds a better offer out there, they wish him well. If not, maybe he'll come back. But they have to prioritize running back next offseason.
Colby, the Triple C in the house, a dear member, a longtime supporter and superstar, says, should we worry about Bo Nix in bad weather conditions? So far, besides the Raiders game, it's been pretty nice. And even that Raiders game, it was more of a wind thing, right? Like it wasn't necessarily snow, wet. So there's that game as far as elements. There's the Jets game in his rookie year as far as elements, and he had under 100 yards passing. They still figured out a way to win that one. What are your thoughts here for the Triple C, Zach?
I was going to ask rhetorically, did the Broncos win those games or lose those games? And if they won those games, that's really all I care about, Colby.
Yeah, I don't worry about Bo. When it comes to bad weather, I'm reminding myself exactly what the number is on this. You focus or you think first of like hand size, and like Drew Lock, for example, he was a guy that everyone always worried about. It's one of the reasons they say he ended up being a second round pick and not a first round pick was he didn't have the ideal size. But Bo Nix does have the 10-inch plus hands, 10 inches and an eighth were his measurement at the combine for what it's worth last year. So I don't really have any worries about Bo. He's also not been a fumbler that we've seen up to this point. Yeah, he's thrown some picks here and there, but he's not been a whoop, the ball goes out like we saw from Russell Wilson, for example. And Russell Wilson, I got to remind myself what his hand size is, but he has mitts, dude. Russell Wilson has massive hands. 10 for his size, 10 1/4 inches, so even bigger than Bo Nix, and yet Bo has 4 inches on him in terms of height.
If there's one thing you like about Bo Nix is that he's not very turnover prone, especially like you mentioned, Chad, as a fumbler. Even in bad weather conditions, Colby, you have the confidence he'll hold on to the ball, even if he gets sacked.
No doubt. I'm not worried about it, but I think it was you that said this earlier. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, this is more what I'm worried about. Not like keeping myself up at night worried, but like when you start thinking about the playoffs, he says, we have to worry about the Patriots, but I still don't want to play KC again in the playoffs. I would prefer not to have to play KC in the playoffs as well. And Zach, what do you make of the Patriots, who now are a 10-win team with the second year Drake May and their new head coach who has turned the ship around?
I was actually going back and forth with a YouTube commenter on yesterday's podcast who said he lived in New England and he stopped listening to the video after I gave the Patriots and Drake May love yesterday. And they're treating Drake May as we treat Bo Nix. He's beat up on bad teams, but he can only play who's in front of them. And he's looked good while beating up those bad teams. Objectively, the Patriots, their defense, the coaching with Mike Vrabel, and the quarterbacking with Drake May, they've been impressive. They don't have many weapons on offense. They have a rookie running back and a veteran running back, just like the Broncos did. They have one true number one receiver and a bunch of younger guys, just like the Broncos. They have a veteran tight end, just like the Broncos. Drake May is making hay. Not to rhyme, but I've been impressed. And maybe I'm biased a little bit, Chad, because I really, as I talked about last night, really wanted the Broncos. It wasn't ever going to happen realistically, but I really wanted the Broncos to make a play for Drake May last year if they weren't going to get Bo Nix. So I've always liked the kid, and objectively, again, you can't deny he's having a good season. though he hasn't played many, tough opponents. It's been kind of a cupcake schedule. So we'll see when he meets that adversity later in the season or in the playoffs what Drake May is made of. But so far, I think he's looked pretty good.
So here's how he's fared this year, and this is more of a conversation about the Patriots and really addressing how big of a concern are they. Week 1, they lost to the Raiders. So both, by the way, of the Patriots' 2 losses came in the first 3 weeks. So they lose to the Raiders, they beat the Dolphins week 2, then they lose to the Steelers. They have not lost since. They go on to beat the Panthers, beat the Bills 23-20. That was a tight game. Beat the Saints, beat the Titans, beat the Browns, beat the Falcons, beat the Buccaneers. That was a tough game. Beat the Jets, beat the Bengals yesterday. So what do they have remaining? They got a home game against the Giants this week. Then they get their bye, week 14. Then they come out of the bye, week 15, Buffalo Bills. That one's in New England. On the road at a desperate Baltimore Ravens. Still desperate. The Ravens are desperate every game till the season ends. On the road, Jets, home against the Dolphins. So feasibly, I see maybe 2 more losses with how well this team has played, Zach. So, I mean, if you're the Broncos, you can't afford to even drop 2 games. You could maybe drop 1 if you want to guarantee you get that 1 seed. Really, you can't lose any games, but 1 loss, you could probably live with it and still end up getting that 1 seed. 2 losses, and then you're going to come into tiebreakers probably with the Patriots.
I think I heard 3 divisional games in there for the Patriots. You better believe the Dolphins, who are gunning for the last wild card spot, would want nothing more than to end the Patriots season or hurt their playoff seeding or what have you. And I also heard the Ravens in there. And I don't think a team is hotter right now since Lamar came back from injury, Chad, than the Baltimore Ravens. So their schedule is not as cupcake as it was to start the year. So we'll see what Drake May and the Patriots are made of.
Colin jumping in again to say, is Bonito's Defensive Player of the Year campaign over? No, it's not over, but it's still ongoing till basically like 3rd week of December to really complete the body of work that is going to most kind of influence all that stuff. The big thing, Zach, he's at a much higher. He stacked a lot of sacks quick in this season, but what's missing compared to last season, what's missing from this season is the big takeaway turnover things. And last year he had the 1 fumble that he picked off. Technically it was a pass, but it was a backwards pass. And so it was counted as a rush that he caught in the air and returned it to the house. I think that one was the Colts. And then he also had that pick 6. I'm trying to remember who that one was against. So he scored 2 touchdowns last season. He's missing those huge impact plays that make all the highlights that stick in people's brain. It's still a chance, Colin, but I don't think it's going to happen for him. And he's also gone on a couple of different streaks, Zach, where sackless, which often happens for pass rushers. Even Von Miller in his prime, man, they kind of come in bunches.
It's over. That's kind of how I see it. Myles Garrett sacked Geno Smith like 10 times yesterday. I think it was pretty insane. He's going to break the single season sack record, and he's going to coast to Defensive Player of the Year. But we all know how good Nick Bonito is. He'll probably get Pro Bowl or All Pro honors.
Yeah, so Myles Garrett is at 18 sacks with whatever, at least probably 6 games to go. And what Zach's talking about yesterday, his game log against the Raiders, whereas he had 3 sacks. The game before that, 4 sacks. He has a game this season with 5 sacks.
Beast.
Against, by the way, Drake May. He sacked Drake May 5 times. So, yeah.
There's your DPOY right there.
That's true. That's true. Drew, good to see you again, brother. Thank you. 4-7-6-5-2-4. RJ's last 6 carries versus KC. He was getting better as the game went on per PFF, #beat RJ. And that is kind of what Sean Payton emphasized today. He said, quote, the number of touches that we had, the number of runs we had was down against the Chiefs. I think looking back at it, Jaleel had a handful of good runs. I think with the flow of a normal game, he's going to be important for us in this stretch. Obviously, RJ as well. And then Prentice played probably one of his better games, the fullback. He didn't just play at the fullback position, but he actually went in with some of the pressure stuff we were getting from KC on third down and was outstanding. Which there's a really cool play of him picking up a blitz for Bo Nix on the big shot. I think it was the big shot down the left sideline, Zach, to Troy Franklin that put him in field goal position. I'm pretty sure at the end. But yes, he did get better in the second half, Harvey, but it's not enough. The Broncos obviously, Drew, aren't panicked about it. If they were utterly freaking out or panicked, they would have not just waited for Damien Pierce, say, to pass through waivers and then try and negotiate. They would have, he came to us? Yeah, we're going to take him. They would have made it a non-question. So they're still obviously, Zach, very comfortable. And if not confident, they're comfortable in continuing to roll with RJ as the RB1.
Yeah, Drew, love the passion. Appreciate the super. I think it's, in your point of view, it's a futile exercise if you're going to keep banging the drum for RJ Harvey to be this bell cow. Never in a Sean Payton offense, I don't believe, is he going to be getting 20, 25 carries a game. That might not be where you're even advocating for, but Sean Payton, no matter what injury takes hold, no matter who's on the roster, he's going to have a committee. RJ Harvey's going to get his touches. Hopefully he does a lot with them, but you're going to see some Jaleel McLaughlin. You're going to see some Tyler Bidet. You're going to see some Bo Nix quarterback runs. You might even see Marvin Mims in the backfield. That's just a Sean Payton offense.
No doubt. No doubt. So thank you, Drew. Appreciate you, big dog. Guys, we're almost out of time here, so I'm gonna grab a couple of member comments. Yeah, Todd, if we didn't mention it. Bonito's kind of been stuck at 9.5 for a couple weeks. Man, he was on pace to destroy the record, but then he had 3 straight games, 0 sacks. And I can't remember how many games it's been now, but he'll get back on the horse. He'll get over 10 at least. He'll probably end up in the Pro Bowl. Will he end up as an All-Pro? We'll see. But he's still making a huge impact because he's got a lot of pressures, Zach, a lot of pressures that have led to sacks for other Broncos. And so even in the games where he ends up not getting the sack, he's still affecting the game, and that's something Vance Joseph talked about in his conversation with Peter Schrager. And not only that, but that his best trait, Nick Bonito, quote-unquote, best trait, is not his get-off. It's not his speed rushing or whatever. It's the fact that he's a team-first guy. It's his intangible asset. Coming off the field saying, no, Jonah needs some reps. Send Jonah in. And Vance is like, no, if you don't go in right now in this situation, you're going to get fired. And then Sean Payton's going to fire me. So get in there, like having to keep his perspective at times. But Nick Bonito, Zach, he's a marvel. He's an awesome player. Really proud of how he's developed. Lady D.
Wow.
Whoa.
Thank you,
Top rope super chat checking in, which, by the way, check me out. Check me out. You recognize this? Yeah. This is the hat given to me in person by the Lady D at the meet and greet, which, by the way, Zach, I forgot in all the hubbub while we were there to give you yours because she gave them to me both at the same time when I saw her that Friday night. The Zack Kelberman Alaska hat still has the tag on it even. So
that's a collector's item right there.
Don't worry, I'll make sure Zach gets it. But anyway, Lady D in the house. Evening, Chad, Zach, Scott, in Broncos country. I read on X that they talked about extending JFM, waiting for a while. I'm hoping we win the 1 seed. We got to beat the Chiefs and Chargers both. Going to be out for blood. I believe in our team. Figured out how to vote for you, Chad. MHH for life. Well, thank you for that, my dear. I appreciate you. Seriously. Thank you very much for that. But it seems like, Zach, you caught that, who was it? Kliss report that, Malcolm Roach, and who was the second?
Wattenberg.
Yeah, Luke Wattenberg. That's who they've talked to for sure that we know beyond Will Lutz. Yeah,
and first of all, Deanna, thank you so freaking much as always. You were winding down the show, but you literally, like I told you yesterday, and Chad likes to talk about, you keep the lights humming along around this podcast. So thank you so much, Deanna, first and foremost. And from what I understand, I don't think JFM is going to get an extension from the Broncos. We talked about it fairly quickly earlier. I think he's playing out the string and trying to maximize his value on the open market in 26. And that market is not even pertaining to the Broncos. He deserves a contract extension. He is a really good player. But Deanna, you just simply can't pay everyone when you already paid Zach Allen. You want to pay Malcolm Roach. You paid PS2. You paid Nick Bonito. You paid Jonathan Cooper. You also drafted young guys like Savion Jones. And even JFM told Savion Jones, go take my job. You're ready. JFM sees the writing on the wall, and it's best for both sides that he's going to try to play his best because the Broncos are going to get his best. And again, he's a damn good player. But thank you so much again.
I'm trying to see where it lists it real quick on the valuation, the over the cap valuation. I'm seeing if I can find it on a quick skim here real quick. But basically, John Franklin Myers, based on his production, yeah, I'm not seeing it jump off the screen. According to over the cap, he is worth, let me go back now. Nope, go back. He is worth so he's basically worth $10 million per year. And he's playing on a 2-year, $15 million contract with the Broncos. So I think that's actually low for him because $10 million, I'm saying, is low, Zach, as far as evaluation. Yeah. And I think he knows that. So if the Broncos are trying to get him, if they say approached him for a deal somewhere in that neighborhood, 9-10 million, really modest only raise over his $7.5 million per year that he's currently on, he says no to that and bets on himself and waits to see what the free agent market offers, because interior guys that can rush the passer like JFM and play the run as competently as it's hard to come by in the league. They come in a premium, and he's already got 4.5 sacks. Last season was a career high for him in sacks, which was 6, I think. Let me double check that. 7 sacks last season, career high. With 6 games to go, Zach, he's got 4.5. So he's probably going to come close to meeting, if not surpassing, his career high. And then he'll hit the open market and cash in. He'll probably go elsewhere because, especially too, as you mentioned, Zach, Savion Jones.
Yeah, and you're so right about those players are hard to find, especially 3-4 defensive ends like JFM who can do everything on that in the front seven. So he's a good player, but when you're paying PS2, Bonito, Zach Allen, $20 million, north of $20 million each per season, eventually you have to make some tough concessions. And one of those concessions is going to be JFM.
All right, guys, we're about out of time, so we got to grab this from Donald, a dear member and an awesome superstar checking in. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Hat trick for Brock Purdy in the first half tonight. If Bo Nix did that, yeah, I haven't watched any of the game. I forgot that it was on, honestly, right before we were going live. Normally I'd have it on in the office, but happy Thanksgiving to you as well, Big Dog. If anybody's traveling this week, safe travels. Yeah. And yeah, it's good to see if Brock Purdy's so I don't know what he's saying. Is Brock Purdy playing well or not well, Zach?
I would assume not well. I haven't
3 picks.
Yeah, I haven't seen the game, but here's the flip side to that. If Bo Nix threw for 600 yards and 7 touchdowns, he would still get criticism. I'm a Brock Purdy fan. I'm not going to dump on him too much. I like Purdy.
But right now, they might be questioning if they made the right decision to put him in, because Mac Jones has kept him afloat, basically, in the NFC West. But thank you, Donald. Happy Thanksgiving right back at you guys. We got a few messages for you. Then we'll take one last look at the chat, so don't dip out yet.
Tremendous episode, as always, of the Mile High Huddle podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on X at the MHH Pod. You can follow us on X, the main account, at Mile High Huddle, Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out mhhmerch.com and get you some. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a like at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can find us on Instagram at mile_high_huddle. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football pre-save 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, Please, 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 very important that you subscribe, you like, you share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
By the way, 2 of those picks on Purdy tonight, JC Horn, for what it's worth. But love you guys. Thank you. And Todd, he says, if I don't see everyone before Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving to all and your families. Same from Lady D, same from Pearl. No doubt about it, guys. So happy Thanksgiving. We're very grateful and thankful for y'all. That is for absolute sure. And as String Guy echoes, Zach here, hit the like button for the number one best Broncos pod. Thank you, pal. A mile high salute, a special shout out to all the great Super Chat superstars, supporters, members helping us keep the lights on tonight. Like the Lady D off the tippity top rope.
You, Deanna.
Love you so much, D. Papa Bear, much love. Cullen, much love. Sam Bam, much love. George, Phil, much love. Drew, multiple supers tonight. Love you, bud. Cullen as well, by the way. And we're celebrating 1 month of membership here, Cullen. Thank you, pal. Triple C, Colby, and then Don Olmstead. Legends, each and every one of you. Thank you guys so much. Zach and I are off till Thursday night, which is Thanksgiving. So we'll see you then. Everybody have a great week. If you're traveling again, safe travels.
Have a great start to your week. We'll see you then. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.